Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. It is Debbie Grote here, and Sean was not able to join us, but that's okay. We can go it alone together. Today, we're going to talk about how to wow and win a seller. And you'll see on the screen our negotiations masterclass series. This is absolutely free. Some of you have joined us over the last couple of weeks, so you may already be participating. But if you remember, we put this together because of the time that we're all going through with the NAR changes and all the complicated new forms and things you're adapting to, and the new level of conversation that you're going to be having with your buyers and sellers. So this is our gift to you. Please feel free to scan that QR code, take advantage of this great class. Let me just click to my next slide here. There we go. Whoops, let me go back. This is what it'll give you: 12 weeks of on-demand negotiations sessions, some extra resources, and 45 days beyond the 12 weeks. You will have a little buffer in case you need some extra time to finish all the modules, because once the 12 weeks and 45 days are gone, then we're going to be selling the course to the public. So I hope you enjoy. So again, I'm Debbie Grote. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Forward Coaching. Landvoice is an awesome company. I've worked and known them for years, so I'm happy to be here with all of you today. So how do we wow and win our sellers, especially now in the environment that we're going to be facing, our new normal? Actually, I think it's a really terrific opportunity to force ourselves to upgrade everything that you do. And it's really important now more than ever to have a very predictable process for how you approach the appointment. We're not going to go in the weeds today of all the conversations around the rules and the laws, but I think just at a high level, the National Association of Realtors put out certain mandates, but then each state made their own tweaks. And inside each state, the MLSs made their own tweaks. So it's very important right now, before August 17th, that you're clear on how you're going to approach having those conversations with your seller about concessions and all the other issues that you're going to need to work through. So have a plan, have a process. And let's talk about how to gain rapport. If you don't have rapport, you're not likely to persuade them. And there's a couple of things that we can accidentally do that breaks rapport, and we don't even realize it. So, for an example, when you drive up in front of the house and you get out of your car and you're walking up to the door and you just happen to be on your phone texting, sellers looking out the window, very annoyed because they spent all week working on the yard so that it would look great when you arrived and you're not even paying attention. Strike one, you're out, right? That's one strike. They're not happy. Now, the home tour. This is also where listings are often lost, is how you handle that home tour. Just listen, take notes, ask questions, and if the seller says, should I do some work on the property, ask them, do you prefer to sell as is? Or if you felt you could net more, would you be open to doing some things? If they say, yes, I'd be open to doing some things, what should I do? Say, well, let's do this. Once we sit together and we choose our price and list the property, I will go back and do a second tour with you, and we can come up with our items. See, If you kick that conversation down the road until they've actually listed, they're going to listen to you better, and you're going to have the opportunity to be more direct without the fear of losing the listing. Also, the pricing discussion. You know the old saying, they like to shoot the messenger. So we want to be very careful how we handle that price conversation, because they may rule you out immediately. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then we're going to talk about the transition to the close and how you set expectations. But part of building that awesome rapport, it's really looking at them like a puzzle. Who are they? What do they really want? Why is this important to them? What do they need to know or hear or understand to choose you? And also, based on their personality style, how do they prefer to be sold? So we can just gather the basics, why they want to sell, when they want to sell, what's the condition of their property, what are the features, or we can do a deeper dive and really read between the lines. And I think of it as being chameleon-like, adapting, selling them the way they would like to be sold. So this is the best thing in the entire webinar today, in my opinion, this question. So write it down. When I'm setting that appointment, so I'm on the phone, I'm setting the appointment with that seller, and I ask, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, may I ask you, what are your expectations of the sales professional you will hire? Okay, so don't write down, what are you looking for in an agent? That sounds needy, like tell me and I'll be that, right? This is a better question. What are your expectations of the sales professional you will hire? And then write down their answer. Because see, what they're going to tell you is very likely the hot button, what we would call their convincer strategy. So for example, they might say, well, I really need to know that I'm going to have a strong communication with my agent. Well, I'm going to write that down. When I get to the listing appointment, they'll forget they even said that. I don't have to bring it up again, but as part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about my strong communication plan. I'm going to highlight that because I know that's important to them. Or they might say, I really need to see an aggressive marketing strategy. I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to write it down exactly the way they said it. When I'm at that listing appointment, I'm going to say, Mr. Seller, I want to share with you my aggressive marketing strategy. I am confident that you will be delighted. So ask them that question. Make a note. That's the hot button. And that's very likely one of the factors in whether they're going to choose or decide whether to hire you. I want you guys to write down these 3 words: experience, expertise, and results. You know, a really smart man in the real estate industry, he used to be actually the CEO of Realtor.com for 10 years. He said to me, you know, Debbie, if you look at real estate agents' websites and marketing, often they talk about how great their service is and how much everybody loves them. And, you know, they've got real estate in the blood because their family was in real estate. He said, all of that is fine, but it's not powerful. He said, if you go to the website of a major law firm, they talk about experience, expertise, and results. And I think this is your time to own that space, especially when it comes to your presentation. Often agents will say to me, I just wing it. For me, it's all about relationship. I just go and chat with the seller. I don't want to have a canned presentation. But that's dangerous because it's not predictable and it's not planned and it's not polished. And here's the thing, you can have a planned and concise presentation and still customize it. You can still make it conversational in how you communicate. And in fact, it actually allows you to focus a lot more on that seller and what they're saying and reading between the lines because you're not worried about what you're going to say because you've already drilled, practiced, and rehearsed. So when you look at your materials for your listing presentation, are they sharp? Are they clean? Do they look professional? And do they showcase your experience? So is your bio awesome and powerful? Your expertise? What do you do to get homes sold? What is your marketing strategy? And guess what? What's your results? Your results are your reviews and testimonials. And as we move into this new phase of real estate, I really believe those reviews and testimonials are going to be so critical on both the seller and buyer side, improving your value and that you're worth the fee that you're charging. So have a powerful bio and make sure it's okay to have some personal stuff in there like hobbies and what attracted you to the business. We don't want to take away your personality, but let's get those awards, the accolades, the accomplishments, the experience. Let's get all of those good things in your bio and your reviews. If you have quite a lot of them, print them out, bring them along, and put your most impressive reviews on the top of the stack. Now, moving forward, as you're asking clients for reviews, I would encourage you to get some teeth in those reviews. And here's what I mean. Let's say, for an example, you list a home. It was listed 2 times before. There was a discounted fee. It never sold. Seller was frustrated, listed it with you. You got it sold. You charged your usual fee. Seller is delighted. Get them to talk about that in their reviews, very specifically, how you accomplished what no one else could accomplish. So once you get your listing package together, that very likely is your pre-list package as well. And I am actually a fan of delivering that to the homeowner and also sending it electronically. Now, I get it that some of them won't look at it. In fact, my husband said, I do these packages and then I get there and they haven't looked at it. And I said, but you know what? If they haven't looked at it, that's still okay because it's the thud factor, right? It arrived, it was professional, it was awesome, it made an impression, even if they just flipped through it. Now, William, I see your message about audio freezing. I don't know why it looks fine on my end. So if someone could type in the chat box for me, let me know if we're okay. And maybe it's just on William's end. So can you guys type me a quick message in the chat box? Let me know it's okay. Yep, Timothy says we're okay, all good. So sorry about that, William. Must be on your end. Now, what I would say is you can script and talk to that seller in advance before sending that package. So this is actually in our scripts, which you guys have access to. I would say, Mr. Seller, I'm really looking forward to meeting you and seeing your home. What I'd like to do to make our appointment more efficient and to save us a bit of time, I'm going to have delivered a package of information. It's going to give you some information about who I am, my areas of expertise. It's going to show you some of the things I'm going to do to market the home. And it's going to have some reviews from sellers talking about how they felt about my service. So would you please take just 10 minutes to review that? And that will make our appointment really efficient. Now, here's the thing, guys. When I get to the appointment, I don't ask them, I don't say, did you review the package? Because sometimes they didn't, and they'll say, yes, they did. And then I'm going to feel a little weird, like, oh, they've actually looked at it or they haven't looked at it. Nope. I just kind of assumed they didn't. So, or I also know that people forget 90% of what they read or heard in 24 hours is pretty common. So I'm going to take my package with me and I'm going to review the highlights, right? Because I want to make sure they understand what actually I'm going to do for them. Okay, give me one sec here. Okay, 30 minutes before. So Tasha, you're asking, what if you're new and you don't have a track record? If you don't have a track record or you don't have a track record in that area or price point, if you're on a team, does your team leader have that track record? Does your brokerage have a strong track record in that market? So let's say I'm new, but my brokerage is very popular, very dominant in that market. I could say, we have sold. My company has expertise. And you know what, Tasha, if they say, how about you? What have you sold in this area? I would say, that's a great question. So glad you brought it up. Actually, this will be my first listing. And that is exactly why you should hire me, because I am going to work overtime to make sure I wow you and I wow this community. So I'm hungry. I have a lot to achieve here. And that's why you're going to want to choose me. So just own it, right, guys? If they think we feel weird or uncomfortable, they'll feel weird and uncomfortable. Okay, so the 30 minutes before, make sure that you have a rule that when you have a listing appointment coming up, a full 24 hours in advance, you have completely prepared for that appointment. The reason I say that, this has happened to all of us, where we're like, oh, I'll prepare for that appointment tomorrow. I got plenty of time. And then something comes up in our life or our business, and we find ourselves at the last minute throwing things together, helter-skelter. So don't do that. Prepare 24 hours in advance. And then the 30 minutes before, as you're driving over to that house, shut everything down. Shut down all the noise. Stop answering texts on your phone. Stop taking phone calls. Because you know what could happen? You can be going into a great listing appointment, and 5 minutes before you walk in, you get the message that one of your big deals fell apart. Or some seller you have listed is calling and yelling at you because their house hasn't sold. Where's your mindset? In the dirt, right? So shut it down. Think of yourself like Tom Brady in the locker room, getting your head in the game. Do whatever is your routine that works. I've heard awesome agents that have all kinds of interesting routines. Like one of them says they just practice their objection handlers as they drive. One of them says they've recorded their listing approach and they listen to it in the car as they're driving. One says, I'm just saying, this is my next listing. This is my next listing. I'm chanting affirmations. And a really fun one, a client in Canada, He says that he puts the top down on his car and he blasts the theme from Rocky, Eye of the Tiger, and he just gets himself fired up. What's really interesting is he still does it even when it's snowing, which is kind of a little crazy. He's been pulled over by the police a couple of times, right? But have your routine, because man, you have worked hard to get to that point, to get that appointment, to get to the table. Don't let anything get in the way. And remember, you pull up at the curb, you get out of the car, you look around, you take notes, maybe even just take a photo or two with your phone. Let them see that you are owning the marketing. Quick funny story. A client of ours said that she had hired a new admin, and she told the admin she had this listing appointment, and the admin thought that meant she had taken the listing. So the admin put the sign up. Well, she put the sign up, the house wasn't listed. So our client drives up in front of the house, there's the sign, and all of a sudden the seller comes running out the door. And she's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? He's going to yell at me. He's going to fire me. And the seller said, Natalie, so awesome. I haven't even signed the listing yet. And already you have the sign up. So kind of crazy, right? Setting verbal expectation. People will get what you tell them to expect to get, or will be more likely to. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm so excited to be here with you. I am confident that at the end of our meeting today, it will be clear that you should choose me as your agent. I can't wait to get started. Will you show me your home? See, if I said to you, you should go see that movie, Twisters, we just saw it. It's kind of fun. You should go see that movie, Twisters. You'll love it. Well, you might love it or you might not love it. But the fact that I set that expectation, you're walking into that movie looking for reasons for it to be true. Otherwise, subconsciously, our mind runs on a negative. We're looking to rule things out. So that's why I love the verbal expectation. By the way, that also is in the scripts that they've given you access to on Landvoice. Be careful how you handle that home tour. You know, if you say honest, true things that offend them, they will rule you out. Or if you say too much on that tour and it overwhelms them, they will rule you out. That's why we want to ask that question. Well, if you felt you could sell the home for more, would you be open to doing some work, or do you prefer to sell as is? You know, the new forms and documents are really going to force us to engage with them, to ask more questions, to offer more options. And that's not a bad thing. It actually might make your process easier because today's consumers are savvy and they don't like pitches and they don't like gimmicky comebacks, right? And so, Jay, I know that there's some old scripts out there from a different coaching company that says, don't go on the tour with them. It says, ask them, can I just look on my own with the eyes of a buyer? I'm very familiar with that scripting because I used to run that company. I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you why. If we are going to be in rapport, then why do we want to put ourselves in a situation of doing something they don't want? What do they want? They want to show you their house. They want to tell you all the features. Do we need them to do that? No, not really. So the previous scriptwriter had in mind their high D. They don't want to do that. They just want to get through the house. But see, that's not what the seller wants. So why not take a couple of extra minutes? Let them show you. and be their champion. Demonstrate that you're excited about their property. Don't use words like, well, I'll try to get you that price. Instead, say, I'm going to fight for you. And you know what? I can't promise that the market will deliver what we want. And I use we and us. Write that down too, guys. We and us, because I want to align myself with them. I am their partner. And don't tell them what's wrong with their property. They know. If you say, well, you back to the freeway and you got the prison across the street. This is going to be really hard. Do they like you? No, they hate you in that moment. So what do? Ask this question instead. What do you think a buyer would try to use against us in the negotiation? Well, we got the freeway and the prison. You're right. And yet, all the other homeowners on the street, they were okay. They bought it. We just have to find the buyer that would be okay with that. And I've actually been thinking about a marketing plan to market to the prison guards. See, I know I'm being extreme, but you get what I mean, right? Let them tell you, and then tell them how you're going to champion and fight for them to get that right buyer. We only need one right buyer, and I'm going to go find him. So talk less, 50% you, 50% them, and half of your 50% should be you asking great questions. And since most listings are lost due to price, be careful. I like to give them pricing strategies. Less is more. We can go below the data, hopefully attract multiple bids. We can price to the data, or retail pricing. We can go as high as we feel the ceiling might be, testing that ceiling. So, Mr. Seller, which strategy do you prefer? Now, once in a while, you're going to have to take an overpriced listing. And you may want to, because listings are precious. Just have some standards for those you take. Reasonable seller, they just want to take some time. They want to test the market. You have a long enough listing. The property is in good shape, good location. So be careful about the overpriced. Just make sure you're not getting yourself into a bad business decision. And you may even have a strategy built in before you leave on those first couple of adjustments. So I know we're almost out of time, but this is a biggie. Write this one down. It's your transition to the close. So when you get to the end, you don't want to say, gosh, I hope you choose me. Or what do you think? Or do you have any more questions? No, just take charge and say, by when do you want your home sold to the right buyer? Notice I don't say, when do you want to put it on the market? Because they don't like to put it on the market. It's a hassle. But what do they want? They want it sold to the right buyer. And then whatever time frame they give you, find a legitimate way to spark urgency. Well, based on wanting to be sold by November, that's exactly why we should sign today. Plenty of time to do an awesome pre-launch, find that right buyer, and get it closed. So now it's signed. Take an extra 15 minutes. Set clear expectations about the process, how you're going to communicate, and what should they expect in terms of number of showings. This could also be a time that you talk about by 2 to 3 weeks in. If the market is not accepting their price, what will they be willing to do? Okay, so we want to have that clear communication. So guys, I hope this was helpful. If you would like to get some more help in this kind of crazy new time we're in, my coaches are ready. They're standing by to help you. Scan this QR code to request a complimentary strategy call. You'll talk to me. We'll talk about what it's like to join us in the coaching, and we'd be delighted to help you have an awesome second half. So I hope this will be helpful. Please take those great little bits of verbiage and please join the negotiations course. You will love it. See, I just set a verbal expectation. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.